Jarred foods feel safe, sealed tight, sitting neatly on shelves for years. But for older adults, these jars can hide shocking dangers. Sky-high sodium, dangerous bacteria, or even toxic chemicals leaching from the glass lining. What looks like a shortcut to convenience could actually threaten your blood pressure, kidneys, or immune system. Today, we're uncovering 9 jarred foods to avoid, and 2 you can truly trust. Coming in at number 9, jarred pasta sauce, the shortcut that can wreck your health faster than overcooked noodles. The promise is simple. Twist the lid, pour it over pasta, and you've got rich, homemade flavor without the work. That's the fantasy. The betrayal? You're spooning out a sodium bomb with a side of hidden sugars and preservatives. Is your pasta night a pressure bomb? Check the label on most mainstream jars. Half a cup, that's barely enough to coat the noodles, can carry 500 to 700 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly a quarter of your daily salt limit gone before you even add cheese or garlic bread. Some sauces creep even higher. One jar can quietly load seniors on blood pressure meds with more salt than their hearts can handle in a day. And it's not just the sodium. Some brands slip an added sugar to balance the acidity. That smooth taste, you notice? It's the same glucose jolt you'd expect from soda. For seniors managing diabetes or kidney strain, that's more like sabotage than seasoning. But here's the real deal. FDA inspection records have flagged jars sitting on shelves with black mold rings under the lid. One batch of recalled sauce smelled so rancid that workers compared it to a dumpster with tomato perfume. Another consumer complaint logged a metallic taste, traced back to improper storage in warehouses where heat caused can linings to break down. That's not Nona's recipe. That's chemical soup in a jar. Now picture it. You twist the lid, hear the pop, and get a faint sour whiff instead of fresh basil. You pour it out and see a dull, dark red sludge that clings to the jar in streaks. Take a spoonful, and the tang isn't tomato. It's bitter, metallic, and leaves your tongue coated in something you can't wash away. That's not dinner, it's residue. For older adults, the risks hit harder. Extra sodium sends blood pressure soaring, which directly fights against heart medications like beta blockers or ACE inhibitors. Sugars spike blood glucose, which means the kidneys, already filtering meds, now have to wrestle with excess. And if the jar was stored poorly, the risk of mold or bacterial growth makes what should be comfort food into a potential ER trip. So what's the fix? You don't need to give up pasta night. Switch to low-sodium sauce brands that list under 150 milligrams per serving. Or better yet, make your own. Open a can of no-salt diced tomatoes, add garlic, onion, and herbs, and simmer for 10 minutes. You'll get the flavor without the pressure spike. Ever cracked open a jar that smelled off? Tell us what happened. Your story might save someone's dinner. And if the sauce is this salty, just wait until you hear about the so-called crunchy snack that can hammer your kidneys. Sliding into number 8, jarred pickles, the crunch that crunches your kidneys. Crunch or kidney punch? The label sells a clean, crisp snack. Fresh packed, craveable crunch, made with real cucumbers. Sounds harmless. The betrayal sits in the numbers. One spear often contains around 300 milligrams of sodium. Eat 3 or 4 during lunch and you're halfway to your entire day's limit before dinner starts. Seniors on blood pressure meds don't need that hit. Your heart doesn't either. Sodium is only part of the story. Many bright green spears get help from dyes and natural flavors. Some jars lean on calcium chloride for firmness and potassium sorbate to hold the line on spoilage. Nice on paper, rough on kidneys that are already working through prescriptions. Add a salty brine, and you get fluid retention, ankle swelling, and pressure you can feel in your temples. Now for the real-world mess. That brine? More like swamp water. We've seen jars on store shelves with cloudy liquid, stringy floaters, and a sulfur stink that hits before the lid is all the way off. Reports claimed cases rode warm in the back of trucks, then sat near heat vents in small shops. A staff forum even joked that cloudy brine gets shaken, not discarded, so buyers won't notice the haze. Funny online, not funny in your fridge. Take the lid off a bad jar. The first whiff is sharp and eggy. The color looks too neon, like a highlighter had a bath. Lift a spear. The skin feels clammy, not crisp. Bite down and hear the snap, but the inside is gummy, almost rubber-like, with a faint chemical whisper sliding up your nose. That isn't farm fresh. That's chemistry in a costume. For older adults, the health math gets ugly. High sodium can spike blood pressure within an hour. If you're on ACE inhibitors, ARBs, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, or diuretics. This extra load can throw off balance fast, causing dizziness, pounding heartbeat, extra bathroom trips, and then dehydration. Kidneys hate the back and forth. Your rings feel tight. Your shoes do too. You won't believe what's lurking inside. Some bargain jars bleed a faint green tint into the brine over time. That's dye and cucumber pigments leaching under heat and age. It won't fix your sandwich. It will stain your cutting board. So what's the fix? Keep the crunch, lose the trap. Ferment cucumbers at home with a simple salt brine so you control the milligrams. Use garlic, dill, and peppercorns for flavor instead of mystery natural notes. Or buy refrigerated naturally fermented pickles with clear labels and lower sodium per spear. Rinse before eating to knock the numbers down more. What's the worst pickle jar you've opened? Cloudy, smelly, or worse? Name it below. Your story might stop someone from chewing on a problem. From cloudy brine to bubbling jars, salsa is next, and it's not fresh. At number 7, salsa, the jar that calls itself fresh while hiding a dirty secret. The label screams zesty and garden fresh. Bright tomatoes, peppers, and onions are pictured on the front like they were just plucked from the soil. But twist that lid and you don't get a garden. You get heat-processed mush that's been sitting in a warehouse for months, fresh or fermenting. Most jarred salsas are pasteurized to extend shelf life. That cooking kills more than bacteria. It dulls the flavor, leaving you with a bland, vinegary smear that brands disguise with salt and sugar. And here's the betrayal. Even with all that processing, contamination slips through. In 2015, the CDC reported salsa as one of the leading causes of foodborne illness outbreaks in restaurants. If the fresh version served at tables were that risky, imagine the jars sitting for a year on grocery shelves. Health risks hit seniors hardest. Immune systems weaken with age. Mix that with daily meds, and even a small dose of salmonella or listeria can land someone in the ER. What looks like a safe dip for chips can spiral into fever, dehydration, and dangerous blood pressure swings. You won't believe what's lurking inside. Inspectors have flagged salsa factories for filthy tanks. One report described old residue caked on the inside walls of storage vats, a breeding ground for microbes. Workers admitted some tanks weren't fully cleaned between batches, just rinsed and reused. That's not farm to jar. That's shortcuts in stainless steel. Now picture the jar itself. Some come with bulging lids, a red flag for trapped gas from bacterial growth. Open one, and you hear the hiss, like a soda can. Except this fizz isn't carbonation. It's spoilage gas. The smell? Sharp vinegar mixed with something rotten, almost like wet cardboard left in the sun. The texture turns thick and slimy, clinging to the spoon like it doesn't want to let go. That's salsa screaming, "Don't eat me." For seniors, the fallout can be brutal. A spoonful with hidden bacteria can knock someone into days of weakness. If you're taking blood thinners or diuretics, dehydration from diarrhea isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. And here's the thing. FDA inspectors allow certain stabilizers and preservatives in U.S. brands that the European Food Safety Authority keeps under stricter control. As Robert F. Kennedy Jr. likes to argue, many foods are literally sold safer overseas than here at home. Salsa is no exception. So what's the fix? Ditch the jar. Grab a tomato, an onion, cilantro, and a lime. Chop, squeeze, and season with salt to taste. 5 minutes, no preservatives, no risk of a bulging lid. Make enough for a couple of days and keep it chilled. You'll taste brightness instead of sour sludge. Ever popped a salsa jar and heard the hiss of gas? Share below. Your story could save someone from spreading sickness. And if salsa can turn sour, wait until you hear about olives, the jarred snack with a deadly history. Rolling in at number 6, olives, the salty little snack with a deadly side. The pitch is pure Mediterranean romance. Heart-healthy fats, straight from the grove, and a nibble that pairs with everything from salads to martinis, but the betrayal comes fast. One small serving of jarred olives can load you with 20 to 25% of your entire day's sodium allowance. That's before the cheese, crackers, or breadsticks join the plate. Mediterranean dream or hospital trip. For seniors already juggling blood pressure medications, that kind of sodium spike isn't flavor, it's a landmine. Add in kidney strain and the risk of swelling ankles, pounding headaches, and pressure your meds can't fully control. But sodium isn't even the scariest part. One slip in sealing and it's botulism in a jar. Rare, yes, but deadly when it happens. Botulism comes from Clostridium botulinum, a bacterium that thrives in oxygen-free spaces like sealed jars. All it takes is a bad seal, and the bacteria can produce a toxin strong enough to paralyze muscles. Seniors with weaker immune defenses are especially vulnerable. Even a tiny dose can trigger blurred vision, slurred speech, and in severe cases, respiratory failure. Inspector reports have flagged olive plants for faulty seals and unclean processing lines. One inspection noted lids that weren't tightened properly, letting air sneak in during storage. Another found oily films coating jars long before they hit the truck. That's not Mediterranean tradition, that's cutting corners in a factory. Now picture it. You open the lid, expecting a briny pop. Instead, a sulfur-tinged, eggy smell punches your nose. The olives glisten, but not in a good way. They're slicked with an oily film that clings to your fingers. Some skins look dark, almost blackened, with a slimy texture that slides across your tongue in the worst way. That's not a snack. That's a gamble. And here's the health math. Eat 6 olives as a light snack, and you've just swallowed more sodium than a bag of chips. Seniors with hypertension or kidney issues don't need that battle. Pair that with even a small risk of botulism, and suddenly your Mediterranean diet looks like a one-way ticket to urgent care. So what's the fix? Go fresh. Buy deli olives stored cold in the refrigerated section where turnover is faster. Or if you stick with jars, rinse them under cold water before eating. That quick step can cut sodium by up to 20%. You'll still get the briny kick without soaking your kidneys in salt. Would you risk botulism for a salty snack? Drop your thoughts below. Some jars aren't worth the gamble. Did the olives scare you? Wait until you see the next jarred spread could come with something even nastier, salmonella. Landing at number 5, jarred peanut butter knockoffs, the spreads that spread more than flavor. The promise is clean protein in a jar. Brands sell themselves as healthy alternatives packed with almonds, cashews, or superfoods. The betrayal? Hidden hydrogenated oils, added sugars, and stabilizers that turn what should be a simple food into a chemistry set. Protein boost or bacteria jar? Let's start with numbers. In 2019, the FDA recalled multiple nut butters tied to salmonella outbreaks. Dozens of cases were reported, many involving older adults whose immune systems couldn't handle the infection. A spoonful meant to fuel your morning toast instead fueled stomach cramps, fever, and hospital visits. For seniors with weakened immunity, the risk jumps. What seems like a harmless spread could trigger days of illness, or worse. Then there's the sugar trap. Some jars hide more sweetener per serving than a cookie. That smooth taste isn't from premium nuts, it's glucose disguised as health. Add to that the fats. Hydrogenated oils meant to keep the spread shelf stable. These oils raise bad cholesterol, working directly against heart medications that seniors already rely on. That oil on top, safe or spoiled. Many cheaper jars are split into layers. Twist the lid, and you'll see an oily puddle floating above a gritty, clumpy base. Stirring doesn't fix the rancid nut smell that clings to your spoon. The texture on toast, chalky, bitter, with a greasy aftertaste that coats your tongue like candle wax. Whistleblower details make it worse. FDA notes described filthy production lines with residue left between batches. Some plants didn't clean grinders for days, letting old nut paste ferment. That's not artisanal, that's contamination waiting to spread. Staff reports even admitted that off jars sometimes got relabeled and shipped out anyway. For seniors, the health fallout is personal. A single serving can spike blood sugar, throwing diabetes management off balance. The added oils stress the kidneys, already filtering medications. And if salmonella shows up, recovery can take weeks. A food meant to energize ends up draining your body instead. So what's the fix? Stick with trusted brands that clearly state no hydrogenated oils, no added sugar. Or better yet, grind fresh nuts at home in a food processor. You'll taste the difference instantly. Clean, natural flavor without the chemical aftertaste. If that feels like too much work, many grocery stores now offer nut grinders where you can fill a jar on the spot. Ever seen a peanut butter jar with oily sludge? Name and shame in the comments. Let's call out the brands that sell us rancid paste as health food. Want to stay ahead of food dangers and hidden risks? Hit subscribe now so you don't miss the facts that could protect your health. Cracking the list at number 4, baby food, the soft jar that hides hard metals. The promise is innocent. Labels say pure, natural, and gentle enough for babies. Seniors sometimes buy it too, thinking the smooth texture is easy on teeth and digestion. But here's the betrayal. Those pastel jars and pouches have been caught hiding arsenic, lead, and cadmium, baby food, or heavy metal soup. In 2021, a U.S. congressional report revealed that major baby food brands sold products with toxic metals at levels far higher than what's considered safe for drinking water. Some jars had arsenic levels over 90 parts per billion. To put it in perspective, the EPA caps arsenic in tap water at at 10 parts per billion. That means spooning baby food could give you 9 times the dose you'd get from a questionable glass of water. For seniors, this isn't just bad news, it's dangerous. Heavy metals accumulate in the body. Over time, they stress the kidneys, weaken immunity, and even interfere with memory. That foggy feeling after eating something easy? It may not just be sugar, it could be neurotoxic buildup. And kidneys already working overtime to filter meds like diuretics or blood pressure drugs can't afford the extra load. Would you feed yourself lead with a spoon? Some adults do, without realizing it. The sensory betrayal adds insult. Open a jar, and you're hit with an overly sweet smell that feels more like candy than carrots. Taste, and the flavor is cloying, with a faint chemical tang under the fruitiness. That artificial note isn't nature, it's processing a problem. FDA letters have gone to companies demanding lower levels, but lawsuits keep piling up. Parents sued Gerber and Beechnut for selling food with unsafe metal levels. If it isn't safe for infants, how can it be safe for older adults whose immune defenses are already weaker? And let's not forget, Europe has stricter limits on metals in baby food. Once again, American jars carry risks that wouldn't pass across the Atlantic. As Robert F. Kennedy Jr. likes to argue, food sold in the US often carries ingredients banned in Europe. Metals are part of that story, but the real danger is that some brands didn't even test all their ingredients. They only checked the final product, meaning contaminated rice flour or apple puree slipped in unchecked. So what's the fix? Skip the jar. Make your own soft blends at home. Steam sweet potatoes, mash bananas, or puree apples with a splash of water. Store in small containers in the fridge for a couple of days. It's cheaper, fresher, and far safer. Ever tried baby food as an adult? Regret it? Let's hear it. Those pastel jars might not be as innocent as they look. And if soft food isn't safe, wait until you see what those bright red cherries are hiding. Taking the number 3 spot, Maraschino cherries, the candy-colored bomb in a jar. On the label, they promise to be fun and sweet, a garnish to brighten ice cream, cocktails, or cake. But behind that glossy red glow lies the betrayal. Jars full of sugar syrup, artificial dyes, and processing plants so filthy the FDA flagged insect parts in 2020. Cherry on top or chemical bomb? Let's look at the syrup first. Pop open a jar, and you're hit with a smell closer to cough medicine than fruit. The liquid is thick, sticky, and unnaturally glossy, like melted candy poured into a jar. Each cherry inside glows a fake neon red that nature never produced. The texture? Gummy, rubbery, and squeaky between your teeth. Not juicy fruit, more like candy masquerading as produce. Then there's the sugar load. A single maraschino cherry can contain multiple chemical additives and more sugar than a small cookie. Eat a handful and your blood sugar shoots up faster than soda. For seniors managing diabetes, that spike can clash with insulin or other meds, throwing off blood glucose control in minutes. That red glow isn't natural. It comes from artificial coloring like Red 40, which has long been controversial for health risks. Combine that with corn syrup, and you've got a syrupy bomb dressed as a treat. And here's where it gets worse. FDA inspectors in 2020 cited a large maraschino plant for filthy lines coated with insect remains. Staff forums joked that they used to call them candied insects behind the line. So much for the cherry on top. For seniors, the health impact is personal. Beyond sugar, those dyes and additives stress the kidneys already filtering multiple meds. Add insect contamination or fungal spores from poorly cleaned tanks, and you've got a garnish that can literally make you sick. Maraschino cherries often sit for years in syrup before they even hit shelves. That thick liquid isn't preserving freshness, it's disguising age. So what's the fix? Skip the jarred chemical cherries. Buy fresh cherries when in season, or grab frozen unsweetened ones for desserts and drinks. You'll get the sweetness without the dyes, insect parts, or syrup sludge. Would you spoon down insect-laced syrup? Name the worst garnish you've seen. From cherries and syrup to soups in jars, this next one looks hearty but hits hard. Sliding into number 2, jarred soups, the comfort food that betrays the bowl. The promise is cozy. Labels say hearty, home-style, slow-simmered. But open the lid and you'll find anything but wholesome. These jars hide sodium bombs, MSG, and chemical stabilizers dressed up as dinner. Comfort food or sodium trap? Here's the math. A single cup of jarred soup often carries 800 to 900 milligrams of sodium. That's nearly 40% of your daily limit in one quick pour. Seniors managing hypertension hit their max with just a single bowl. Add bread or crackers, and you're over the line before you even think about dessert. And let's not forget the taste test. That home-style aroma? It's less like mom's kitchen and more like a metal workshop. Open the jar, and you catch a sharp metallic smell with a sour edge. The broth clings to the glass in slimy streaks, leaving behind a greasy film. Ladle it out, and the texture is thick, gluey, almost gelatinous instead of comforting. That home-style smell, metal, not mom. The FDA has already stepped in. Recalls have been issued for microbial contamination in soups sitting on shelves. Contaminated jars can bulge, hiss when opened, or spew sour-smelling liquid. For seniors with weaker immunity, Even a mild contamination can mean nausea, fever, or worse, days in a hospital bed. But not only just that, soup makers don't just rely on salt. They often pump jars full of MSG and stabilizers to fake flavor and shelf life. That cocktail tricks your tongue but drains your health. Blood pressure spikes, kidneys strain, and meds have to work overtime. A former plant worker wrote online that vats of soup sometimes sat overnight with film building on top before being bottled. In plain terms, scum scraped off, batch packed anyway. That's not care, it's corner cutting. For seniors, the betrayal hits harder. Sodium and MSG throw off medications like ACA inhibitors or diuretics. High sodium also causes water retention, swelling ankles, and stress on the heart. One comforting serving becomes a dangerous trigger for blood pressure swings. So what's the fix? Keep the comfort, ditch the jar. Make a simple soup at home with low-sodium broth, fresh veggies, and herbs. A pot of lentils or chicken with garlic and carrots can be ready in under 30 minutes. Freeze extra portions so you've got safe, real comfort on hand without a sodium overload. Have you ever opened a soup jar that smelled off? Drop your story below. Your warning could save someone's next meal. If soup is bad, the final jar is worse. These mushrooms could send you straight to the ER. And topping the list at number 1, jarred mushrooms, the earthy bite that can kill the appetite fast. On the shelf, they promise farm fresh, a quick, ready-to-use veggie that should make dinner easier. But open the lid and the betrayal oozes out, literally. Instead of crisp mushrooms, you're hit with rubbery caps, a slime that clings like mucus, and a smell straight out of a damp cellar. Healthy veggie or listeria trap? Here's the scary part. In 2021, the FDA issued nationwide recalls of jarred mushrooms contaminated with listeria. That's not just a stomachache. For seniors, listeria can trigger fever, confusion, balance issues, and in severe cases, full-blown sepsis. We're talking hospital trips and IV antibiotics, not a cozy dinner. Pop open a bad jar and you'll know instantly. The smell isn't earthy, it's musty, moldy, with a sour tang that sticks in your nose. The mushrooms themselves feel rubbery, slimy, with a gray-green sheen that has nothing to do with freshness. Some jars even show flecks of black mold floating in the brine, ignored during packing. Would you risk sepsis for mushrooms? FDA bulletins have named and shamed brands repeatedly. Factories overseas, especially in China, have been cited for dirty water, poor sealing, and cross-contamination. And yet those jars still end up in U.S. pantries. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. once quipped that Europe takes fewer risks with toxins, and he's not wrong. In the EU, some of these shipments would never clear inspection. And let's tie this to seniors directly. A weakened immune system means listeria is not just uncomfortable, it's life-threatening. Add in kidney strain from multiple meds, and even a mild dose of contamination can spiral into organ stress. One healthy jarred veggie becomes a silent landmine in your cupboard. Mushrooms in jars don't even hold nutrition well. By the time they're processed, jarred, shipped, and shelved for months or years, the antioxidants and vitamins are long gone. What's left is salt, brine, and texture that belongs in a trash bin, not on your plate. So what's the fix? Skip the jars. Buy mushrooms fresh or frozen. Fresh mushrooms sauté quickly in olive oil or butter and freeze beautifully in portions for later. You'll get the taste, the texture, and the nutrition without the slime or the listeria gamble. Ever opened mushrooms and gagged at the slime? Tell us. Your story might save someone from making the same mistake. Enough poison jars? Let's flip the script. 2 jarred foods that actually deserve a spot in your kitchen. First, safe pick, Eden organic beans. Proof that not every jar is a trap. Finally, a jar that doesn't fight back. Eden makes beans the way they should be. No slimy brine, no metallic stink, no hidden chemicals, just beans, water, and a clean label you can actually trust. Most jars on shelves hide behind marketing words like hearty or home style, then drown you in sodium. Eden flips that script. Their beans are packed in BPA-free glass jars, not cans that can leach chemicals into your food. And here's the big one: no added salt. A serving carries a fraction of the sodium you'd find in competing brands. For seniors watching blood pressure, that's a quiet lifesaver. Beans are naturally rich in fiber and plant-based protein, 2 things seniors need more of to keep digestion smooth and muscles strong. Pair that with Eden's low-sodium prep, and you've got food that supports heart health, kidney stability, and steady blood sugar. Instead of straining the system, these beans help it. Open a jar, and you'll notice the difference instantly. No sour film clinging to the glass, no swampy brine that smells like a fish tank. Just beans in a light, clear liquid, ready to rinse, season, or eat as is. It's almost shocking how normal they look compared to the slimy mess most brands call ready to eat. But here's the real shocker. Eden has a strong inspection record. No FDA bulletins for contamination, no recalls linked to their beans. That might sound boring, but boring is good when you're talking about food safety. In a world where recalls for Salmonella, Listeria, and E. coli make headlines every month, boring is a blessing. Of course, they cost a little more, but the payoff is peace of mind. Instead of wondering if your jar will smell like metal or mold, you're getting clean food that actually delivers what the label promises. So, what's the fix here? Simple. If you need beans in the pantry, skip the mystery brands and stick with Eden. Better yet, rinse them and toss them into soups, salads, or quick sautés. You'll get the protein without the sodium overload. Tried Eden beans before? Do they taste cleaner to you too? And if beans are safe, wait until you see the one sauce brand that doesn't drown you in salt. Counting up with our first safe pick, Eden Organic Beans, proves that not every jar is a trap. Here's the rare twist. A jarred food that actually delivers what it promises. No slimy surprise, no brine that stinks like a fish tank, no hidden sodium bomb, just beans, water, and transparency. Most brands drown beans in salty liquid and call it ready to eat. Eden does the opposite. Their beans sit in BPA-free glass jars, not cans that can leach chemicals, and they use no added salt. One serving has only a fraction of the sodium you'll find in mainstream beans. That's huge for seniors fighting high blood pressure. Beans should be a powerhouse. With plant-based protein and gut-friendly fiber, they keep digestion steady and muscles strong. The problem is, most jarred brands load up sodium and preservatives that cancel out those benefits. Eden avoids that trap, letting the beans support kidney health and stable blood sugar instead of wrecking it. But here's the real shocker. Their inspection record is clean. The FDA hasn't slapped Eden with recalls for Salmonella, Listeria, or E. coli. In a grocery world where weekly recall lists feel endless, that boring consistency is gold. As Robert F. Kennedy Jr. likes to point out, Europe rejects a lot of what the US shelves. Eden's practices look closer to that higher bar. And the sensory test? Open the jar and you'll see the difference. The liquid is clear, not swampy. The beans look intact, not mushy or broken. No gray slime clinging to the glass. No sour chemical smell that makes you gag. Just food the way it should be. For older adults, that's more than a taste issue. It's safety. High sodium spikes blood pressure and interacts badly with heart meds and diuretics. Dirty plants risk kidney infections that a younger body might fight off, but seniors can't. Eden avoids both traps. Of course, there's a catch. Eden costs a little more than bargain bin brands, but compare that to the cost of hospital bills or daily meds. Paying extra for a jar that won't sabotage your health feels like a smart trade. Tried Eden beans before? Do they taste cleaner to you too? Don't risk your health on bad choices. Subscribe now, and I'll show you what to avoid and what's actually safe every single week.